Let's see. Let's talk about what's some big news, Vic. I think this betting scandal is kind of interesting.
It's really interesting because it's apparently turned into something. And James Krause now, who I believe he coaches Moraes, right? No, not Moraes. What's the guy that's gonna they're gonna have their quadrilogy or whatever.
It's
what's that weight class?
Brandon Moreno.
Moreno. I got it mixed up with somebody else. But anyway, he's suspended basically. That anybody that's involved with him can't fight right now if you're in the UFC because they're investigating this shady thing. They think that obviously they think he's the guy that is behind this manipulation, and they're vetting that. They're currently vetting it right now. They let go of Minner, his fighter, who was the one that went down in the first round at that fight card.
Right, and we were talking about that, right? There was we talked about this a couple of weeks ago where there was it was like questionable.
So what was there? A bunch of money like flowed in one direction?
Yeah, a bunch of money changed, right? Or I guess the line changed very dramatically, very quickly.
It went from minus 220 to minus 420 within an hour with a number of bets.
And so apparently what I read was that the rumor is that James Krause was in like either like a subreddit or what do they call it? A Discord. And was like, yeah, my fighter's injured. Don't bet on him, or something like that, right? Which is essentially saying bet on the other fighter, right? I don't know. This is all hearsay. I literally have no idea how much of this is true. Could be somebody saying that it is him, right? Because Discord, I went up to my own Discord. There's just a dude who's pretending to be me. It's just people interact with him daily and they have conversations, and it's just some dude.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
dude.
pretty funny.
Well, it's not like he doesn't talk about betting. He's been on ESPN talking about betting.
He talks about he bets on his own fighters, right?
Well, this is a thing in MMA that is pretty normal. People bet, and they bet on themselves. And a lot of people talk about that. Fighters for years have been talking about it. It's like, oh, I made, a couple $100,000, and then I put another couple $100,000 on myself because I knew I was going to win. There are other sports like baseball, for example, where it's illegal or not illegal, it's their rules. You cannot bet. You'll get kicked out of the major leagues if you bet.
Well, I think
yourself.
I think right now the UFC they're implementing something like that. They're saying you can't bet on yourselves, right?
So the
Coop,
logic.
do you have an answer for that?
Yeah, so it's the result is pending, but what they're saying is that he might get the ban hammer. And again, like him.
Well, no, but this is this is a whole different question. See, so the theory in baseball that they've had for a long time is that you can't even bet on yourself to win because the concern is that if you get into gambling, you could lose a lot of money, and then there's always a really easy way to win all your money back, which is to fucking take a dive and bet against yourself. And so this is the concern. Right. So Pete Rose, for the longest time, he got kicked out. He's the all-time leader in hits and wasn't in the Hall of Fame and got completely kicked out of baseball. And he always maintained for a while that he didn't do it. He finally admitted he did it, but still maintained he only bet on himself to win.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I wasn't throwing games. And he was really good. So he's probably telling the truth on that. But even that's not allowed. It's a weird thing in MMA when you're like, if you're getting guys into betting, and then obviously the implication here is, or at least the concern for the investigation, it's not just that you had inside information and were telling people to bet. It's that, look, if everyone you know is getting rich off you losing a fight, it's only one step away from going, maybe you just fucking fall down when he hits you.
Yeah.
And we all fucking get rich off
course.
this. You know what I mean? And if that's happening, that's a really big problem for the sport.
It probably happens a decent amount. Not a wild amount, right? But if you're some fucking journeyman, right? And you're like, dude, I'm never going to be champion. Another loss means nothing. And now
I'm probably going to lose this fight anyway. Like I might as well just ensure it.
No, let's see, you're going up against a guy who's like a massive underdog. There's a massive payday available for you. Whatever it is, whatever the parameters are. Why not, dude? Just like literally all you got to do is drop your hand a little bit and take the shot. There's nothing to even fake
shots
it.
All day.
Take shots all fucking day, dude. Getting knocked out is really not a big deal to a fighter. Just not a big deal. So I believe it probably happens. I don't know what's going on here, but the UFC, I've never seen the UFC come down on a gym like this. They're banning all of his fighters.
That seems harsh.
That's crazy. Well, I think they're trying to fucking smoke out the rat right now. They're trying to smoke out the mole, right? And
integrity, you got to protect it.
And they also have to have an extreme reaction to show like, hey, this isn't happening in our fucking
for the
sport.
betting lines to change that drastically, it's also not just like some people bet this way. It's like, I'd imagine it would have had to be like big money to change the betting lines that drastically.
Yeah.
So this isn't just someone did it. It might be like, oh, a lot of people fucking.
Well, if he's in the Discord, you know, and saying, oh yeah, my fighter's injured, right? Like in that moment, I mean, it's like inside information. Like, I don't know. Like in my mind, I'm going like, I know fighters. I can find out if somebody's injured. Is that like insider trading or like, you know, the betting version of insider trading? Should I not be able to know that? If I, there's that scene in the movie Casino, right? Where the main character, what's his name?
De Niro?
Yeah, De Niro's character, Rosenberg or whatever, he's Jewish. The whole thing.
Coolest Jew in the history
The
of cinema.
whole thing is that he studies the players. He knows who's injured. He knows, like, this is how he made like his first fortune and became known as like a gambling guy, is because he would study the players. He would find out who's cheating on their wife, who's having marital issues, and then he would use that to gamble later on. I almost feel like that's just all fair game. If you could find out somebody's injured.
Yeah. Someone disrespects you, then my short friend stabs him to death with a pen at the bar. It's like, that's life. Don't talk shit to me.
By the way, his name was Sam Ace Rothstein.
Sam
Man,
Ace
you really
Rothstein.
are my Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Lewis just, I don't know. Lewis would just go fucking nuts. Here, I'd be trying to talk to the guy, and Lewis would just flip out.
And I just want to explain that Pete Rose is basically the Lewis of baseball in the 70s and 80s. He had a bad fashion sense. He was getting those hits, but he was always making questionable decisions and fighting with umpires.
My fashion sense is fucking unmatched.
Hey, you should be in the Hall of Fame, bro. It's wrong what they did to
I'm
you.
a future New York Comedy Hall of Famer.
Hell yeah, you are.
Don't you worry about that, baby boy. Should fighters be able to bet on themselves? Obviously not against themselves. Massive conflict of interest. Should they be able to bet on themselves? I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
No problem with it.
I tell you, I don't want to ban it because I like the idea of fighters betting on themselves. I think there's something cool to the idea that, like, if you really believe in yourself, you can double up your salary or double up whatever, you know, make, like, there's a much higher ceiling on how much money you can make on yourself. I do think there is some point to the baseball position, which is like, you let people gamble on the sport, you know, it's a slippery slope, but I wouldn't want to see that banned. I like the idea that fighters can bet on themselves.
It was okay in dodgeball. Remember that?
The movie Dodgeball or the game?
I just remember if you could
the movie dodgeball and the game.
If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball. That's all I remember.
Yeah, and he didn't dodge the wrench.
No.
He got hit by the wrench.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to explain the plot to dodgeball.
Vic, if you could just Cliff Notes Dodgeball for us real quick.
Let's see. Yeah, Minner was released. There's really not much else to the story. I guess we're, you know, jury's still out on what's going to happen, but that is fucking wild, dude. I mean, if your entire life, James Krause, I mean, he is a longtime UFC vet. He doesn't fight anymore, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he does like a podcast, and he's pretty active within the.
Was he on our show before?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
This show?
Maybe. Regardless, but was he no longer fighting? Is what I'm asking. Please answer the question.
He's retired. He's
Got
retired.
it. Thank you. But your entire thing is you're coaching fighters. You are an authority on fighting. Your whole world, you know, however, I don't know how old he is, but my assumption is 30 some odd years of his life has been fighting. You get to the point where you are cornering guys, coaching guys in the UFC. You have a popular gym. We have popular fighters, UFC title holders, UFC title contenders. Your entire world, everything is right here. And now you go and fucking throw it all away. I would love to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I will say,
hopefully this
yes.
was a dumb mistake and it can be explained and he can go, hey dude, I just fucked up. I'm an idiot. But if it was, you know, if it was for the sake of cheating and if it was for the sake of fucking trying to get his friends paid, I mean, there's nothing else you could do.
Well, look, there's like levels here of like how bad was this really? It seems like, assuming that it was actually him who said this on a Discord or whatever, then there's one level where it was like, okay, the best interpretation of that is he was just trying to help his friends from betting, thinking this guy was 100% when he's not. You know what I mean? Try to save them money. The worst, then after that, it would be like, oh, he was trying to encourage people to bet against his guy to make money. And then the worst of all of it is like that the guy actually like fucking threw the fight, because so it's hard to say which one of those it is. Hopefully they figure that out. I do think, while I agree with you, I hope the UFC doesn't make a rule. I hope fighters are allowed to bet on themselves. I like gyms being allowed to bet on their fighters. I think it's almost like an honor code thing. We're all assuming you're betting on your fighters and not against your own fighters, right? But you kind of probably shouldn't make announcements about injuries.
I think it should be it's extremely unethical, and I think it should be illegal to bet against your own fighter.
Yes, yeah.
Because
it's a conflict of interest.
Just look.
It's like a doctor working for a virus.
Yeah, I could just corner him wrong. You know, it's just completely you can't do it. But betting for there's not. What, are you going to trade him harder? I mean, there's no downside.
That's the best part about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, you believe that much in what you're doing. That's awesome.